What's up, everybody? Welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. I am Wyatt, and today on the show, I'm going to be talking about Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. If you haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Cinema Trip Reviews. Also, wherever you get your podcast, drop in and leave us a good review there. So, at the beginning of the week, I actually put a poll out asking everybody what you wanted me to review this week, whether if you wanted me to continue on with the Mad Max franchise or if you wanted me to review something else and come back to it eventually. And the crowd has spoken. You want me to continue on with Mad Max and talk about The Road Warrior, which personally is my favorite of the whole series. But it's been about 14, 15 years since I actually watched this movie along with the first one and the third one, which we're going to get to eventually. So Mad Max 2, The Road Warriors, directed by George Miller, just like all the other Mad Max movies. Like I mentioned in my first review, he ended up going on directing like Babe and Babe Pig in the City, also like both Happy Feet movies. Dude's had a weird career as far as being a director, but he is mostly known for these Mad Max movies. And of course, Mel Gibson comes back to reprise his role as the title character of Mad Max in this one. And boy, is he fantastic. He has a lot more to work with in this one than he did in the previous one. And to round off the cast, you have Bruce Spence as the gyro captain. You have Michael Preston as Pappagallo. You have Emil Minty as the feral kid, Kel Nilsson as Humongous, and also Vernon Wells as Wes. Wes is probably the most memorable character in my eyes, other than, of course, Mad Max and also the feral kid, who is also one of the most memorable characters of the movie, because Wes is pretty much the antagonist of the movie. I mean, you do have a big bad with Humongous, you know, the old like post-apocalyptic looking Jason dude with like the metal like hockey mask type, and he's wearing the BDSM outfit and everything. Come to think of it, a lot of people are wearing BDSM outfits in the wasteland, along with like football pads and what have you. But we're gonna get into that here in a minute. But Wes is like one of the most memorable characters of the movie because he just has that memorable look. He's got like that red mohawk with the fucking Flavor Saver soul patch on there. And I also call him like the main antagonist of the movie because he's the one that's really involved in causing the most mayhem throughout the movie, or involved trying to kill Max and everybody else. I mean, Humongous is pretty much like the ringleader of this little army out in the wasteland. But I mean, Wes, he's the one that's really causing a lot of havoc. He's the one that's going out and getting his hands dirty. And starting with this movie, you're kind of introduced to the concept of each movie in this filmography kind of being told from another character's point of view about Mad Max, kind of like the legend of Mad Max. Each movie is kind of about, you know, Mad Max has just grown as this like legendary figure within the wasteland of this, you know, within the story. And everybody kind of has their own story regarding Mad Max about what he's done or how they affected their life in a way. I mean, this movie does tie in directly to the first one a little bit. It does have some flashbacks here and there at the very beginning, which I'll get into. But throughout the third one, with like Beyond Thunderdome, and of course with like Fury Road and what have you, each one's kind of like somebody's story about Mad Max, you know, a legend throughout the wasteland that they're telling. That's why I kind of wish we would have got even more Mad Max movies, you know, throughout the years, just so we can kind of build that legend of Mad Max in a way. And it kind of gives you leeway to use another actor if you need to. I mean, Mel Gibson obviously is older at this point, unless you wanted to do kind of an old man Mad Max, kind of go with all like the kind of go along with like the movie tropes that everybody else is doing now, bringing like a requel with like the old character, bringing them back in their old role. You can kind of go that way, or you can kind of go the way of Fury Road, where you have Tom Hardy playing like Mad Max in that role. Kind of like a James Bond sort of thing. You have a different actor playing Mad Max throughout these movies. But like at the beginning of the movie and towards the end, you do have like a narrator. So it is kind of told from a different person's perspective about the legend of Mad Max. And kind of like what I alluded to before, where this movie is kind of tied directly into the first one, where the first one you got the origin of Mad Max, what really made him become Mad Max, from going slightly irritated Max to Mad Max. And you get a little bit of that in the beginning, kind of a retelling of what happened in the first one, and you kind of get more in-depth explanation of what happened to the world around Mad Max and what's happened to that world. So in this universe, there was a couple wars that happened. The government really didn't know what to do, or really didn't do much of anything at all. So that started an internal conflict. So everybody started fighting with each other. There's riots, there's looting, people started eating each other, there's cannibalism happening, there's a shortage on fuel and gas, amongst other things. And society as a whole started crumbling around itself, creating this barren wasteland in the world you see within Mad Max. Now, from what you understand from some other characters, there is worlds and lands beyond the wasteland. I guess they kind of insinuate in this movie there are beaches and other places that you can go to. But from within the franchise itself, you pretty much stay within the wasteland. And from Mad Max 1 to Mad Max 2, you really don't know what the time jump is. You do realize that it is multiple years ahead. They do jump a considerable amount of time because it does seem like Max is well weathered. He is kind of worn and within the wasteland. He has his, his fit has been weathered down. He has that brace on his leg from getting his knee popped from the last movie. He has this fucking car all souped up with the engine and everything. He found a nice, good old boy that follows him around everywhere that he has nice and trained. And the world around him has really developed into the wasteland that we know from the Mad Max franchise. It's vastly different from the first one, where you actually have hospitals and a police force and gas stations and a somewhat resemblance of normalcy. This one has gone full wasteland, kind of full post-apocalyptic type atmosphere with it. You do open up the movie with Mad Max being chased by Wes and a bunch of his goons on the highway, and it's a pretty decent chase scene. And Mad Max just using his smarts because those people on the motorcycle roll up beside him, just slams on his brakes, and then one shoots the other one. Just genius thinking on his part. But he ends up rolling up on this tractor trailer that's just sitting in the middle of the road, and he opens it up and you see that just bloated corpse fall out and everything. And he takes like this little music box, which is kind of cute, out of it. But you really get to see the importance of gas within this universe. He's just sitting there trying to drain every little bit of gas out of this tractor trailer that he can to take with him. And that really sets up the importance of the gas throughout this movie and throughout the franchise. And this scene is also what really kind of sets up, the rivalry between Max and Wes throughout the rest of the movie. So as Max is rolling along his travels through the wasteland, he ends up coming across the gyro captain, played by Bruce Spence. And this is a pretty cool machine that he has out in the wasteland. It's just like a tiny little helicopter with really nothing around him. I don't even know if the dude has a seatbelt. It's completely unsafe. I wouldn't feel safe up in that thing. But pretty cool out in the wasteland, getting around, everybody that's out on the road trying to cause trouble and kill everybody for gas. But this dude is also kind of genius in a way, because I'm assuming he's built this helicopter, but he also has a booby trapped as well. He has snakes wrapped around it. And, Max, just the badass that he is, has fast reflexes. He can just catch a snake in midair. But this dude literally buried himself in the sand to kind of jump up and surprise attack Max and hold him hostage until Max gets the upper hand on him. But Max, he's also a smart motherfucker as well. He has his whole car booby trapped in case, anybody kind of rolls up on him and tries to steal his shit or try to steal his gas, because he has multiple huge barrels of that he can carry gas in the back of this car, and he has them booby trapped in case somebody tries to steal him. That bitch just blows up on him. These two don't get off the best of terms right away. Max ends up holding him hostage because he says that he knows a place where there's just unlimited gas that can be had. Max tells him to lead him there, and that leads him directly to the compound that you get to see for most of this movie here. And this compound does have an outer wall around it. The door to even get in is just a big ass bus that's pushed in front of it. And within these walls is a little civilization, and they have a huge ass tractor trailer tanker of gas that they have, and they've been living off of this whole time. This place has lights, this place has food, and this would be a nice place to live if it wasn't for Humongous's big ass gang just causing trouble and wreaking havoc every single day in and day out trying to get this gas. And Max is staking out this place, trying to figure out the perfect opportunity to sneak in here, try to get some gas and get out. And the perfect opportunity arises when two cars decide to leave the fortress and they get attacked by the gang on the road, of course, by Wes. Humongous is just kind of the ringleader of everybody. He's just telling everybody to go out and do his bidding. He's not actually going out and getting everything done and getting his hands dirty himself. Wes is the one that's out there leading the actual gang itself out on the road. But Max and Gyro Captain witness Wes and his gang just roll up on these two cars, completely destroy them. They end up like raping and killing one of the girls, and then they end up leaving. Max goes down and actually ends up seeing this guy on the brink of death, makes a deal with him to take him back to his civilization in turn for all the gas that he can carry. Unfortunately, as soon as Max gets back, the guy ends up dying on the table while they're trying to save him. The leader of the place tells Max, like, hey, your deal pretty much died with him. As far as we know, you're with that gang that's fucking out here causing trouble, trying to break in here. So they end up chaining Max up, and Max really gets to see firsthand what these people deal with on a daily basis, with Humongous and the gang coming rolling through, trying to tear down the place. They have flamethrowers outside, which is fucking awesome. That's fortifying the fortress and everything. That's like kind of holding them at bay from the gate. And you even get to see the feral kid that comes out with his like boomerang blade that just fucking hacks into Wes's boyfriend or his little slave friend, whatever he is. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with this gang, but there's a lot of BDSM kinky shit that's going on that I don't really understand. I'm not going to kink shame anybody, but there's some weird shit going on within this gang. And you actually get to see a couple of the other people that they captured from the fortress tied up on the front of their cars that they're just driving around everywhere. But Max overhears their plans that they actually want to leave the fortress eventually to get away from these people, but they don't have any way to transport the gas. Lo and behold, Max ended up running into that tractor trailer at the beginning of the movie. He tells him, like, hey, I'll go get you a tractor trailer in return for all the gas that I can carry and put in my car. And then we'll leave it at that. I'll be on my way. So the first part of this journey is, of course, Max trying to go out and get this tractor trailer and bring back. And of course, he's going to fucking run into trouble. On his way back, of course, he runs into Wes and his buddies and also runs into Humongous, carries around this big ass 6-shooter in this box that you could tell it's super powerful because he only uses it every once in a while. There's like only a handful of bullets that are left in there. And also, along with gas, apparently bullets are hard to come by in this universe as well, because as you find out, the sawed-off shotgun that Max was using in the first one and throughout this doesn't have any fucking shells in it. He was holding the gyro captain up with a gun with no bullets in it. He just uses one of these shots to pop straight into the engine of the tractor trailer as Max is driving it. But luckily, he is able to make it back to the fortress, but not without letting a couple of people in, including Wes, who caused trouble. And this is actually a pretty intense scene of just the fight within the fortress and then, of course, the fight outside, because while they're trying to take care of Wes and the gang with inside, everybody's trying to bust in from the outside. So they're using the flamethrowers trying to take them out. Compared to the first flick, this movie is way more action packed. And it's very well paced. I don't really think this movie gets bogged down at any point in time. I was actually pretty entertained and locked in throughout the whole flick. I understand the first one is a very indie, low budget type of movie, especially made in the late 70s. It's going to have that slow burn 70s feel to it. But I think George Miller knew exactly what he wanted to do with this one, especially with getting a bigger budget for this. As soon as it starts slowing down again, that's when it starts building right back up. So with Max returning with this tractor trailer, it is in bad shape, just getting all shot up, running in the shit. So the mechanic that's there saying it's going to take about 24 hours. They only have 12 to get out of here. They want Max to be the one that drives the tractor trailer to get the gas out of the area. Max says, listen, my contract with you is fulfilled. I got you the truck. Get me my gas. I'm going to be out of here. The dude does everything in his power to keep Max there to drive this tractor trailer, even kind of gets in his face like, listen, why are you so angry all the time? What's your deal? Like, did you lose people? Come on, we lost people too. Everybody here lost people. It's the fucking wasteland, man. You're no different from us. And he kind of gets under Max's skin, makes Mad Max, Furious Max a little bit, ends up punching him in the face and tells him again, like, listen, I am not staying here. I am out. I am a lone wolf. I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly. And this is kind of a little sad part of the movie to me, at least. Throughout the course of Max's stay at this compound, the feral kid has been kind of following him around and really looking up to him. I mean, the feral kid really looks up to Max in a way, like sees him as a hero. He's the one that's kind of saving everybody around him and saving his family in a way. And he wants to go with him. He's even like got his bags packed. He jumps into Max's car and wants to go with him. And Max pretty much just like kicks him out. Like he throws away like a little music box that he gives him. He even like gets him out of the car and like throws his bag at him, like go, scram, get out of here. I don't want you. And it's kind of a sad scene because you like, even though the feral kid can't talk, you can really see how much he looks up to Max in a way and how much he wants to roll with him as kind of his little partner in crime. Along with the gyro captain. The gyro captain wants nothing more than to be Max's buddy. And Max just wants nothing to do with him. And so the next day, as soon as Max leaves, he just gets ambushed by Wes and the rest of this gang and immediately gets taken down. And I mean, Max has been out here for who knows how long, how many years. Literally, they roll up beside him and smash his windshield in, and that makes him like just drive off the road and flip his car into an embankment. Like, bro, you just got your windshield smashed. You should be able to keep on driving and fucking use your NOS, use your fucking nitrous, and just blow past these dudes. Like, what are you doing? So almost immediately after leaving the compound, Max gets his car crashed and just demolished. And he just crawls out of the wreckage, just all bruised and bloody and battered, his eyes like all swollen and closed. And of course, Wes and his gang are trying to come down and steal all of his gas and, of course, finish off the job and kill him like they've been trying to do this whole movie. And of course, to add insult to injury, one of the fucking assholes ends up killing Max's dog, which is bullshit. I knew it was going to happen. As soon as I saw that damn dog, I knew it was going to die. And I was like, you sons of bitches. George Miller, why would you do this to me? And unfortunately for Wes's men, they don't know that the car is booby trapped. So as soon as they try to steal the gas, it just completely blows up the car, which was, man, Max had such a fucking awesome car. And of course, it's gone like that. It sucks. And Wes was all the way at the top of the bankment. He wasn't down with the other guys. So he's assuming that Max died in the explosion along with his buddies. Max is pretty much on the brink of death. And lo and behold, his buddy, the gyro captain, comes in to save him. And I gotta say, the gyro captain, he got some moves, because what he was telling Max is like what he misses about the old world was, you know, the pretty ladies. As soon as he walks into this fortress, he gets his eye on a pretty lady and starts making his moves, and she seems to have a thing for him. He even even gets close to talking out of going with the rest of the group and leaving with him. So even in Max's condition, all bruised and battered, he wants to help out this community for helping him out in the long run and saving him. And plus, he doesn't really have anywhere else to go at this point. He doesn't have a car or anything else. So he tells them, listen, let me drive for you. I can do it. Like, you're not in any condition to do this. He's like, listen, man, I'm fucking Mad Max. I can do anything I want. And they actually come up with a genius plan of this is Max is going to take the tanker truck and go one way with a couple cars, and everybody else is going to go separate ways as well to kind of separate the gang so it's not all concentrated on one group. And man, I gotta say, out of everything I've seen through Mad Max 1 and through, the first three quarters of this movie, this whole last act of this movie just blows everything out of the water. I believe most of the budget had to have gone to this last part because this is where you're getting all of the stunts. This is where you're getting all of the action, man. This last like quarter of the movie is probably some of my favorite Mad Max stuff of the whole franchise, man. Because it's just Max barreling down the highway on this tanker truck that just has spikes and traps all set up over it. They have the gyro captain flying over, dropping, Molotov cocktails and bombs on people. You have people on top of the tanker truck shooting like arrows and throwing bombs themselves. It is such a cool action-packed final act of the movie. And I just think it was expertly done. I think all around it was amazing. I love the design of the cars. I love the designs of just like all the different gang members and their outfits. But Max in this final act isn't really doing the action himself. It's pretty much everybody around him that's doing it for him because he's the one that's just driving the truck, swerving people off the road, trying to get people off of them. Everybody else is kind of fighting the good fight around him. And it doesn't really take long for all those numbers to start dwindling down to nothing. And then it is just Max driving this fucking big rig with the feral kid beside him, helping him out. So throughout this whole drive down this road, people are getting shot left and right with arrows. Shit is exploding. People are trying to climb on top of this tanker truck and falling off or getting killed while trying to climb up. People that you've been seeing within this fortress throughout the whole movie are starting to get killed one by one during this. So the stakes were high. Everybody knew the risks going into this. And unfortunately, some lives were lost along the way. And if I had one nitpick with this movie, and it's a very minor nitpick, and it's very similar to the one I had with the first Mad Max, it's kind of the anticlimactic way that you kind of deal with the antagonist of the movie, with the way that you deal with Humongous and the way you deal with Wes in this, because you really get the demise of both of them all in one fell swoop. So as Wes was trying to climb over this tanker truck to get the Max, somebody else was behind him, just tearing his fucking shoulder up with that claw on his arm and everything. Feral Kid was all over, climbing all over top of that dude, biting him and trying to kill him. Max throws on his brakes and throws Wes over top of the truck, and you think he just fell over top and he got ran over. But when Max needs shells for the shotgun, they all spill out over the place, and one goes out onto the hood of the truck and somehow doesn't fall off. So he makes the feral kid climb out over top to go grab it. And of course, Wes was just somehow holding onto the grill of this truck the whole time because he pops up and gives you a good jump scare of the movie. So Wes is pulling at the kid from one end, and Max is pulling at him from the other, trying to pull him back into the truck. And while this is happening, Humongous is way down the road and he is coming at him the other opposite way with his nitrous going full blast, playing chicken with Mad Max. Pretty much a callback to the first movie where you have Max playing chicken with multiple people at the beginning of the movie and at the end. I thought it was a pretty cool callback how that happened, even though it wasn't Max doing it in this one, it was Humongous. But Humongous is driving straight at him, and just in the nick of time, Max pulls the kid into the cab of the truck before having the head-on collision with Humongous, completely obliterating his car and completely obliterating Wes in the process, who was on the front of his truck. Max was already banged the fuck up at this point, so he's even worse for wear. When he climbs out of this truck, he's just bleeding. His whole fucking side of his face is swollen. He's got to be super sore. The kid's all banged up. As you notice, something is off because he's not getting attacked by the rest of the gang that was following him, trying to kill him this whole time. They're kind of staying back and just watching him. And as the camera slowly pans over, you find out that the tanker truck this gang has been trying to take over this whole time was just filled with sand. It was just a decoy this whole fucking time. Max risked his life as just a decoy in this plan so everybody else in the compound could get away, driving away in the opposite direction with all the fuel just packed in these barrels in the backs of these cars that they had. And it was such a genius plan. And I love how they make you wait until the last second to see that it was all sand and that it was just a decoy. Because it really makes you think for a second, like, wait a minute, did they pull one over on Max? Did Max really not know that there was sand in there? Were they fooling him? Did they not have gas this whole time? It really makes you think because they don't allude to any of this plan previously. But then you actually get to see all the other cars getting away with the drums of the fuel in the back and everything. It was such an awesome plan. And with Max kind of being the grumbly, rough, rugged type dude that doesn't really want friends or, really wants to be social with anybody whatsoever. It's really cool to kind of see that, the light side of Max really risking his neck to protect all these people and let them get away with all the fuel that they had and really not getting anything else in return in a way. And his car has been destroyed. He doesn't really have any gas. He's just all beat the fuck up, just left alone out in the middle of nowhere. But he lost his dog. He lost his best friend in the process. In the very end of the movie, you see the feral kid back with everybody else in the car, making their getaway with the rest of the gas. And you find out that the feral kid's the one that's been narrating the story the whole time. He's the one that's been telling you the story about Mad Max throughout this whole movie. And as he says at the end of the movie, he never saw Max again after what happened at the end of the movie. He kind of went on to live on as a legend across the wasteland. And that's where you get the stories like I talked about at the beginning. Like each one of these movies is kind of a story from someone's perspective about the legend of Mad Max in a way. And I just really love that aspect of it. I love how they kind of went that direction with it. But overall, I had an absolute blast with this movie. I think Mel Gibson really has a lot of time to shine in this one. He's given a lot more to do compared to the first Mad Max. I love just the interesting characters that you have throughout the movie, whether it's with the people in the compound or just the antagonists in general. The couple of the main characters within the bad gang that's kind of wreaking havoc across the movie. I just love the interesting characters and the interesting outfits that they have and the interesting way they have to get around the wasteland and all these souped up vehicles and everything. I just really love the world that George Miller created coming off of that first Mad Max. I really think he outdid himself with this one. I think this movie is leagues above the first movie in every way. I mean, like I said in the first one, it's kind of just a different movie in general. They're both tonally different movies, but that's what makes them special in a way. And I'm sure there's people that like the first one better than the second one, and I'm sure there's a lot more fans of the second one than there are the first one. But man, everything from like the costume design, the music in it is just epic. It gives you that epic feel through across these action scenes. The acting in it is actually pretty damn good across all accounts. And I love movies that actually make bad guys feel like bad guys and make you hate them. And this movie does a great job with that with Wes. My only complaint is with Humongous because he is like the ringleader, but you don't really see him do much other than just kind of lead people. He doesn't really like do much himself. Like he isn't out here fighting people. The real main thing you really get to see him do is shoot that gun that he has and then just drive into Max's car at the end of the movie. It would have been nice to see him out here doing stuff that makes you think like, oh, that's how he became the leader of this gang. This dude's a big motherfucker. He's out here just pounding people's skulls in and just killing people on a daily. It would have just been nice to have that dude just do something more than just kind of lead everybody. Because as far as I'm concerned, Wes is the big bad of the movie because he's the one that's out here doing everything and causing havoc for all these characters. Humongous is just all talk, no show, pretty much. The only other complaint I can really kind of come up with is they could have done more with some of the other characters within the actual compound itself. So that way their demises later in the movie kind of would have had a bigger impact on the movie itself. Otherwise, it's just like they're kind of cannon fodder at that point. Lives are expected to be lost in this kind of mission. But overall, I absolutely loved rewatching this movie. It was a blast the whole way through. Even at the end, it kept me guessing on what was going to happen next because I didn't really remember what was going to happen. Out of a buy it, rent it, or miss it, I'm going to give a heavy buy it on this one. I know I didn't miss it on the first one, but on Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, this is an absolute buy it for me. I mean, this movie was entertaining the whole way through. This movie is like peak Mad Max. I know everybody's going to go for Mad Max Fury Road because it's kind of the more recent. They were able to do a lot more with special effects because it was when was it made? It was in like the 2010s. But I think if you're looking for peak Mad Max, I think you're looking for Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. To me, so far, it's the best in the franchise as far as I'm concerned. I like the characters. I love the highway combat and the action involved with the movie. I just love the way the movie was paced. It was a great movie, and I highly recommend it to anybody that hasn't seen it. And if you have seen it, go rewatch it again. Why not? Whether you liked the movie or didn't like the movie, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. I love hearing everybody's thoughts about movies that I cover here. Also, let me know what movies you all would like me to cover here in the future. I would like to write them down. That way I can cover everybody and also give you a shout on the channel whenever I do cover them eventually. But that is a review for this week. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Cinema Trip Reviews. Also, wherever you get your podcast, drop in and leave us a good review there as well. And I'll see everybody next time.